me, obviously. Like, we're not here to talk about me because that's lame. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Definitely excited.
Absolutely. So I always like to just kick it off with a quick introduction about who you are. Tell us who you are, and then I kind of do the elementary school style, something unique about you that people may not know.
Okay. I have to think about what that
I
is.
know, right? I like to get you thinking.
Like a little fun fact.
Yeah, just something fun. I got to get you thinking, right? Like, gotta get the brain juices flowing right at the beginning of the interview.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything?
Should I say it right now
Yeah, say it.
okay. um so I start with the introduction and then the fun fact,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Or... Hey guys, I'm Kelly from Wave Break. And I sing and play guitar in Wave Break. And a fun fact about me, not music related, is I guess that I am double jointed in my arms a little bit. Like
Oh,
it kind of,
snap.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Nice.
That's for some
See,
reason the first thing that came to mind.
hey, see this is why I do it that way. It kind of just like it it just changes the feeling, right? It just makes it fun. So like my entire focus is obviously music is meant to be fun, right? And so I want to kind of embrace that. And obviously you have been knocking it out of the park. You've released how many singles this year?
So far, have released 3 singles and about to release a fourth one.
Absolutely awesome. And you've got, it was 2018 that you released your debut EP, right? Or 2017?
2018.
Awesome. So
Deadlock.
yeah,
The debut came out 2017. So yeah.
awesome. So just as a, obviously, some people coming from your audience will know a bit of the backstory, a little bit of the history of you. But hopefully we're gonna get you some people who haven't heard the music yet. So let's talk about some of the new music, because it's first off, it's really awesome. So but with one of the coolest things for me is female vocals on pop punk and punk rock music. There's just something cool about it. So tell me a little bit about these new singles that you've been releasing, and how things have been going for you in 2021, another crazy year.
Yeah, so basically the last EP came out in 2018, and pretty much since then, Wave Break went through a number of lineup changes. Like people in the band decided that they didn't want to be in a serious band anymore, or whatever. Or they had
Mm-hmm.
conflicts with the other band they were in. So for one reason or another, I ended up being the only one in the band pretty much right before COVID hit.
Dang
So
it.
so yeah, so as of pretty much the beginning of COVID, it's been just me. So pretty much last year in 2020, I finished up writing this new EP and then went into the studio to record in the fall, and now I'm releasing it. So so far it's been going well. The EP is coming out pretty soon, and trying to figure out some more shows and stuff. So taking it day by day, but so far going well.
Awesome. So you have your official new lineup then? Is everything kind of set in stone, or is it still in flux?
It's kind of still in flux. It's kind of
Okay.
based on who's available for certain shows.
Okay.
I have a couple people that I'm going to for like fill-ins and stuff. So it's kind of just based off of who's available. But until I find like a new lineup in the future, if that ever happens, then that's pretty much how it's going to be.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing solo, right? Like, tell me, like, with the debut EP, was it was it a full band at that point?
Yeah,
Okay.
it started with a full band with the debut EP,
Okay. And
and then
that
it kind of...
so that same lineup, was that all the way through 2020, and then COVID hits and everything goes crazy?
So it's kind of complicated because it start Waverick started with a full lineup, like right when it started with the debut single and everything,
Mhm.
and then right around the time the second single was coming out, like things started falling apart for the
Oh
first
no.
time. It felt started falling apart really, really soon, really early. So Like a couple, like I said, a couple people decided they didn't want to do the serious band thing anymore. So I started like getting some fill-in members for those people. And then the EP came out. Then I announced lineup change, and then um, got a new lineup after that. And then that lineup fell apart like 6 months later.
Man,
And then now here we are.
was there like any consistent reasoning behind like things just falling apart? Was it out of nowhere?
It's most of the time it's a little bit out of nowhere, because a lot of the times, for me, what was happening in my experience was people will join and they're like, yeah, let's do the serious band thing. Like, we want to go on tour and everything. We're going to do the thing. And then they end up deciding that I guess they didn't want to do it because it's too much money, or they didn't have the time to like play all these shows or anything like that. Like, one way or another, they just decided they couldn't make it work. So the common theme seems to be that people, I guess, don't really know what it means to be in a serious band, and then they get in over their head, and then they're like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. So if what is it to be in a serious band? Like what does that mean to be in a serious band? Cuz like obviously there's like I mean based on what you just said there like some people there's a huge spectrum of where people can lie in this like starting a band, just hanging out, cover band, full-time band, like where what is it like what is it what does it take to be in a full-time band? I know there's obviously a lot to it. So some of the things.
Yeah, so Waverick isn't technically at the full-time band stage yet, but trying to get there at some point.
Yeah.
I still have like a full-time day job and everything, but until we get there, yeah, like pretty much like what it means is to pretty much it takes like a certain level of professionalism. Like,
Mhm.
you need to like invest in like your image and your sound and all that, and pretty much be willing to like put certain like plans, like jobs, like taking PTO to play shows and stuff, and putting other like plans, like pushing those back so that you can do certain band things whenever you can. So like it's a matter of like prioritization.
Mhm.
And it just seems like a lot of people aren't willing to do that, and it's a lot harder to find bandmates as it than it looks because of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and like that's such a tough thing cuz like PTO to a lot of people is like sacred, right? Like that time off, that ability to kind of refresh. But like when you're in a band, there's not really a lot of balance, right? Like there's life and you kind of
Mm-hmm.
work all day and then you work all night in the band side of things, right? Like
Yeah, pretty much a typical day for me is working during the day, and then if I don't have anything like personal going on, that's important, that demands my time, then I'll be like working on like something for the band, like writing or recording or interviews or anything like that, like anything pertaining to the band. Like, that's usually like right after when I finish work.
and when it comes down to it, what is it that keeps you rolling forward when obviously there's so much disparity between balance, right? Like your life is probably lacking balance between what normal people have is in terms of come home, veg out, like they're able to hang out, watch a little bit of Netflix or whatever, um, and then get to bed at a reasonable hour, get up the next day for work. For you, like how do you keep yourself going when you don't have that time?
I pretty much just, I guess, just remind myself why I'm doing it and what the end goal is. Because for me, there's no better feeling than like coming up with like a new song idea and then watching it come together, like either like with my guitar and my just sitting on the couch writing with my guitar, or in the studio. There's just no better feeling than like being creative. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess just reminding myself of that feeling, and just pushing through to do what I love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really what keeps me going, because I kind of, a lot of the times when I go through spurts of like not being as productive, I kind of feel guilty because I'm not doing that as much as I should.
As you
So
should,
because
quote unquote, right? Like these are this is the thing, right? These are your expectations on yourself. So when you say how as much as I should, like you're probably doing more than most people do, and so like never sell yourself short.
yeah, there's just always like a voice in the back of my head telling me like, oh, I gotta like write the next song, or I gotta do this for the band, or I gotta do this. And then whenever I'm like not doing it, I feel guilty. And then
Hmm.
it's like I love doing it, so it's not just about guilt, but like it's also like, I guess, avoiding that guilt
Yeah,
too. So,
yeah. I mean, what's that principle? Like, you know, our tasks will take as long. Like, if we don't have a deadline, our tasks will take as long as the amount of time we have to fill it, right? And it's like when you procrastinate, you could have written a song in that same amount of time, but without a timeline, without things going, like that's probably
yep.
where the guilt comes from, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know when I was finishing up writing this EP, I was like, oh, like it's gonna have been like 2 years since the last EP came out. I gotta get new material out, gotta finish writing this EP. Like there was always like that feeling that I gotta get the next thing out to that was pushing me to finish what I was doing, I guess. So like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, man, that's I commend. That's one of the things that I'm really like. I admire musicians. Like I think as I've done this podcast, the longer I've done it, the more and more I appreciate truly like how much musicians do, because it's a lot of people kind of think to themselves of, oh well, if I could just be creative at all times and make that my life, everything would be so much easier. But they discount the amount of work it takes to actually be creative, and the amount of energy, because it's a lot of mental energy that actually makes you physically exhausted, like
Yep.
doing this stuff. And then obviously you're physically exhausted because now you're working a regular 8-hour job a day, 9 to 5, and then you're working on top of that. So for you, like, how did it click? Because this sacrifice, the amount of effort and energy that goes into it, there has to be something that drove you there in order to actually say, I'm willing to do this day in and day out. For you, what made it click that said, hey, I am going to make this happen?
Um, I mean, I've kind of always wanted to be a musician, like ever since I was probably the earliest memory I have of wanting to be a musician was I was probably like 5 years old. But but yeah, I mean, I feel like what's pushing me to do that and what makes it click is because I can't really see myself doing anything else for the rest of my life. Like, yeah, I have my day job and I don't completely hate it, but like if I but like I mean, I enjoy it to an extent, but it's not really like my passion. But like if I could quit my day job and do music full time, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So like I can't really see myself actually doing anything else for the rest of my life. So if I can keep pushing and get lucky enough that it works out that I can do it full time one day, then it'll all be worth it.
Yeah. So 5 years old, what, like, I remember, when I was a kid, I always loved music, but like the idea of being a musician never even came to my mind until I was like 14 or 15, right? The idea of like, oh, being a rock star, when you were 5, what were some of those things that were like that made you just like look up into the sky and say, I'm gonna be a star. I'm gonna do this. Like, I just imagine this little 5-year-old out stargazing, right? Like the stars are all shining and it's twinkling in their eyes, and they're like, I am going to do this, and they're just like listening to some epic song swelling in the background, right?
Yeah, I guess what I remember is like I was in like kindergarten and we had like music class and we were learning some song. I don't remember what it was,
Was
but
it on
like we were in
the
music class
recorder?
and we did have recorders. I don't think this we were working on those
Oh,
when this
okay.
happened, but like we were like singing through a particular song in music class And then like I remember my music teacher telling me like, "Oh, like you can actually hit the notes that I'm playing. You're great." Like, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I can sing." So like I'm gonna be a singer. So so
That's
I
so
guess
awesome.
in my naive 5-year-old brain, I was like, I'm gonna be a singer and I'm gonna be a musician, and then it kind of stuck with me my whole life. I haven't let go of it. So
Hey,
I guess I'm still kind of naive, but
if it sticks that well, there must be a reason for you to hold on to it, right? Like, because there's just sometimes there's just things that click, and you got to pursue it. You got to push for it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I also
When
have
Oh, go on.
other I also have other memories of when I was younger, like also like really loving making things. I remember like when I was younger, like around 5 and older, also like um loving, I remember specifically saying to people like I love making things. I used to like write like short stories and poems and stuff, and I always like loved like writing and doing like creative things. So I guess like the natural talent, I guess, for music with creating things, I guess, kind of naturally melded with like as being a musician. So,
Hmm.
and I guess that's kind of why it stuck with me.
And are you still creating other stuff as well aside from music?
If I didn't have my full-time job, I probably would be.
Oh, okay.
Because there's not enough hours in the day to do everything, but I would
Yeah.
absolutely love to like actually like write like a novel or something at some point in my life or something like that. But right
Yeah.
now music has my full attention outside of my job.
I get that. What are some of the things that you create, like obviously you said a novel, but like when you think of where you would spend your time, right? Like let's say for example you are able to escape the 9 to 5. You're starting to make enough money to survive, not just survive but thrive, right? What are some
Mhm.
things that you create like in this scenario?
I would definitely, like I said, delve more into like writing novels and stuff. I've always wanted to like get more into photography too. Like I have like a pretty decent camera and I've messed around with it from time to time, but I haven't really gotten deep enough into actually like learning the technology behind it and like all like the different features on it. So like I would love to like get more into that if I had more time. Um,
Mhm.
so basically, yeah, I would love to do that. I would at some point, if I had the time, it would also be cool to like do like a music blog or something like that to just write about music that I love if I had the time. But
Yep. I've
really
thought
anything
Yeah, I've
like
thought the same thing on that. I'm like, the podcast, like doing this it's pretty time consuming, right? Like an hour long interview a few times, once a week is what release it. And I'm like, well, I got a full time job. I've got my wife and kids. I've got the podcast. I've got a business I run on the side. And I'm like, I would love to have a blog, like a place like where I can share what I'm listening to. And I just was like, I can't bite off more than I can chew. I've got to slow down.
yeah, there's a point where I have to be like, I would love to do this, but I can't right now because I need to prioritize my sanity.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. Prioritize my sanity. I
I
love
mean, if
that.
we don't have our sanity, what else do we have? So
I mean, if you don't have sanity, I think you have the ultimate amount of freedom, right?
that's true. You're not bounded by, I guess, other people's expectations or
Yeah.
society
Yeah, you're
expectations. You
not
could just
bound
do what you
by
want.
those rules, by societal rules. Well, now we figured it out. Apparently, we need to push ourselves to the brink of insanity, and then
Yep.
we.
Sleep. I'm gonna do all nighters every night just to get to that point.
And
So
then you can say, "I've arrived."
I've
Oh
lost
man,
my sanity and now I am free.
I am free, the ultimate freedom. Oh my goodness. And when did you start playing guitar?
I first tried to learn it when I was like 10, but my hands are still really small, but they were even smaller then, and it was really hard, so I kind of pushed it off for a little bit. Then I came back to it a couple years later when I was 12 and then actually started learning it for real.
Yeah. At 10, you're like, I guess I'll pick up an ukulele. Oh,
Yeah.
I and did you learn electric or acoustic first?
Acoustic.
Okay.
Yeah, I started I started the very first guitar I had when I was 10. Um my mom got me this cheap first act acoustic guitar. Like
Yes, yes
basically
for
a
first
toy.
act.
Basically a toy, and that's probably also part of the reason why I kind of fell off of it when I was 10, because like it's not really a real guitar. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it's not comfortable to play, and it's
Hmm.
hard to learn on those toy guitars.
They don't
Like,
sound good. They don't stay in tune.
yeah, and then once I got a new guitar after that, it got easier.
Yeah. It's cool though cuz first act started a whole trend of like cuz it used to be like Squire was your only real beginner guitar option and they were still kind of expensive. But first act kind of started this whole trend of pretty solid beginner guitars to get kids who are young, because that was the thing when I first started playing guitar. My parents were like, "You're probably gonna quit, so we don't want to buy you a nice one," which I didn't quit, but like it was like, you know, you had kind of two options. You go really cheap and really crappy, or you have to spend money, and that was like that was it. And
Yep.
they ended up getting me like this Washburn guitar, which I still have and I love it. But it is funny to look back and realize, those first act. I wonder how many great musicians got started on stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's probably more than we think. And
I
but
think
I'm
so.
also a firm believer in, like, if you like want to learn an instrument for real, definitely like invest in like an at least half decent instrument instead of going for the cheapest thing, because like you want something that feels comfortable to play, you want something that sounds decent, because if it's not comfortable and it doesn't sound good, you're not going to be motivated to learn. So I'm a very firm believer in the fact that you need like at least a half decent instrument to learn on.
True that.
So
And
yeah.
the thing too is if you start on a half decent guitar, it at least carries you a little longer, right? Then you're not
Mhm.
having to reinvest really soon because
Yeah.
especially at 12 years old, you probably caught on pretty quick because that's an age where like learning things is just like boom, boom, boom. Like kids can
Oh
really
yeah.
pick up on stuff.
Yeah, like when I got home from school, I was playing for like literal hours.
That's
Like
amazing.
and because I was playing so much after school, like I picked it up like very quickly once I got serious about it.
Were you just like looking up tabs? Were you just playing around and learning scales? How were you learning?
So I kind of started by like I had a guitar, I guess, instruction slash chord book that I was
Mm-hmm.
looking at, and had like a bunch of chord charts, and I just learned a few like basic chords, and tried and learned going back and forth between them at
Mm-hmm.
first. And then I kind of like started like jamming on my own stuff and writing some like very like mediocre songs once I learned a few chords. And then once I got a little bit better, then I started learning a few covers, and I actually after that like started posting a few covers on YouTube when I was like 14. So I
Nice.
kind of, that's kind of like what kept me motivated to keep learning, because I was like, I got to do the next YouTube video. I got to
Yeah.
like learn another song to post.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll go viral. So
And you said you were 14 at that time?
yeah,
So
that's when I first started posting.
how long ago was that?
I'm 27 now, so
Okay,
almost,
13 years.
yeah, 13, almost 14 years.
That's amazing. I I love what like I love that motivation cuz having something that drives you is really important. And for me it was always
Mhm.
like it was always learning a new tab like cuz I know chords, I know some chords like especially on my acoustic, but I just taught myself and I was just going to was it ultimateguitar.com or something like that,
Mhm.
ultimate guitar
Yeah.
tabs, and it was like eventually they started charging and I was like, "Guys, I'm not paying for this. I'm too cheap and I'm too poor." And it was really sad when they started charging for tabs. But
Oh man, I must
yeah.
have missed that. I guess I haven't been on Ultimate Guitar in a bit, but there's plenty of other sites these days now that you can look at too. So I guess
Yeah.
there's. pay for it.
Not to mention, like, it's so cool. There's so many like really cool like YouTube channels, obviously, like where you were coming from, like there's so many YouTube channels that will post their tabs out on the internet for you to play too. They're like, hey, here's a song I wrote, here are the tabs, or here's a song I transcribed into finger picking guitar or whatever, and they'll put the
Mhm.
tabs out there, and it's like, it's hard as crap, but hey, it's out there, you can learn it.
Yep, that's how I learned how to play in drop D, actually, like watching a YouTube tutorial. I remember I was trying to learn a Lifehouse cover for YouTube, and it was in drop D, and then I eventually started writing all of my wave break stuff in drop D. So
Heck yeah. What happened to them? What happened to Lifehouse?
I have no idea. I haven't heard about them in years. I
Yeah,
haven't been
like,
keeping either.
yeah, I mean, they were like, you couldn't escape them between alternative radio, mainstream
Yeah,
radio, all of radio, like every
in
school dance,
2000, early
everything.
2010s, yeah, they were
Yeah.
like everywhere.
Yeah. And now it's like no one's heard of them. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yep, yep.
Nickelback lives on in infamy though, you know.
They'll always be that band. So
Yeah. You know what's funny though is like when they first came out, I would bet that all these people who are like, "Oh, Nickelback sucks." I'll bet all of them loved Nickelback when they first came out.
everyone pretty much loved Nickelback when they were in their heyday.
Yeah.
But like it's only like in the last like between maybe 5 years, maybe more than that, that it became like a meme to
Yeah.
hate Nickelback.
Became cool to hate Nickelback. It's like, "Yeah, what's up? Making fun of Nickelback." But these are the same people who wore like Ed Hardy shirts and you know, like wore those pants with the pockets that were huge with giant bedazzlings on them as men. It's like, yeah, that's a generation I don't want to be a part of anymore.
Yeah, no, the whole generation was cringe.
Yeah, yeah. Buckle was like the one-stop shop for the cringe. I do recall.
Is that where everyone was shopping for that stuff?
Yeah, Buckle was where like, cause I was partially a part of that group. I never liked like the stupid shirts, like all of the tattoo style design shirts or like Affliction or like the American Fighter. I never liked any of the shirts, but I did like the jeans, just one brand, Mech jeans, because they had a big M on the butt. I was like, this is cool. Spent way
Oh
too much
god.
money on them, and it was just such a waste.
Oh god.
Oh,
That brings back memories of that era.
yeah.
Cringe.
Yeah, it was like I show off how, I show off how much money I waste by turning around and you can see the butt of my pants. It's like rock revivals, True Religion. That was another one. I had a couple pairs of True Religions. That was absurd. If I would have just put that money into the stock market, I would be rich. But I was just stupid and bought pants, right?
It's actually kind of funny because I can relate to that because I'm actually in a way a bit of a poser with like writing alternative music because when I was like in middle school, I was like wearing like Abercrombie and Hollister and stuff, but it was mainly because I wanted to like try and fit in, not because I actually like really liked it. But like yeah, like I was spending so much money like on jeans and stuff there, like it was insane. Like the sweaters were like $60. Like I
Yep.
could have saved so much money if
Yeah.
I wasn't shopping there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? Like this stupid, and they know it. They know that the reason you go there is to impress your friends, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's so
The only real reason I was shopping there was because I wanted to try and fit in, which obviously didn't work. But
yeah. Short story time. So
yeah,
fresh out of high school, I I was like, I need to get a job. It was summertime, and I went to Abercrombie and Fitch to like a group interview. I showed up like in a shirt and tie, and everyone else is like in jeans and a t-shirt, and I was like, apparently I didn't get the memo. I ended up
yeah.
getting the job because I knew a couple people who worked there, and when I got the job, they're like, you don't have to wear Abercrombie and Fitch clothes. Don't worry. I was like, perfect, because I don't have any. I literally wore band t-shirts to work every day
Oh yeah.
until about a month in. They were like, you have to start wearing something that fits our store's vibe. And I was like, ha, not gonna happen. So I quit Abercrombie and Fitch, and a week later I started at Zoomies. Felt a lot more at
Oh,
home.
the so much better. Like I wish I was shopping there in middle school.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man.
like I wouldn't feel so cringe about my middle school days if I was shopping there, probably.
Yeah, I'm man, I look back and like my cargo shorts. Man, some bad style cues back in the mid 2000s, you know? Bad.
Yeah, it was awful. We don't speak of
We skip
the
that.
fact. We'll skip over it.
Oh, that's awesome. And where did you grow up at?
Central Jersey.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
is New Jersey like I would imagine like based on the stereotypes of New Jersey. I don't know anything about New Jersey aside from there's a lot of fantastic music that comes from Jersey.
Mhm.
And really cool people. Like one of my favorite guests I've had him on a couple times is from New Jersey, Idlewave. I
Yeah,
Wave, yeah. He's
yeah.
guy is super dope. But yeah, Jersey. Anyway, was it like even more like I don't know, was like the stereotypes there say flashy clothes and like really really like over the top eccentric. Is that just Jersey Shore or is that like New Jersey in general?
I would say that's probably just Jersey Shore, but
Okay.
even then, it's a very like small group of people. I feel like that
Such a
stereotype
bad
isn't
stereotype.
like yeah, like everyone like in New Jersey dresses like normal, I guess. I don't know. Like when you walk down the Jersey Shore and everyone's like dressed normal, you might walk a
Okay.
few like eccentric you might walk past a few eccentric people, but like for the most part, like everyone's
I mean, that's
pretty tame.
really good to hear because I never watched Jersey Shore because I don't like reality TV, but I saw those guys and was like, "What?
Oh yeah, that
What
that
is in
show
the
gave
water?"
so that show gave us such a bad name.
Yeah, I was like, "What is in the water over in New Jersey?"
The worst part is that most of the people from that show are actually from New York. They're not even from New Jersey.
No.
And
Dirtbags.
the most sane person on that show is the only one from Jersey. I forget her name, but there was like one girl on the show who was like the most like sane person on the show, and she was the only one from Jersey.
Dang
So like
it. I hate that.
I, and that also like brings me to like something else that I've noticed. Like a lot of New Jersey's bad stereotypes actually come from New York.
No way, really?
Yeah, like we have a bad reputation of like being bad drivers, but like a lot of the bad drivers are like up near New York, or they come from New York, or to come to our beaches and stuff. Like
Yeah, cuz y'all
it's
are
it's
obviously right next to it. Like it's like 30 minutes from New York City, right?
yeah, it's very close. And like if you drive into New York, like it's so much the driving is so much worse in New York than it is in New Jersey.
Take that, New
It's 10
York.
like literally everything bad that people think of when they think about New Jersey actually comes from New York, and I will
Shots
stand by that.
fired. You heard it here, folks.
If you're from New York, don't kill me, but
Don't
but
at her, but she's gonna stick to her guns. Except
yeah,
not
I'm
because in
totally
New Jersey guns are like completely illegal, right? Like oh man. So back to where we were supposed to be talking, right? About the music. Um the EP, you've got 3 songs recorded, fourth one's or not recorded, all of them are recorded. 3 songs released, fourth one's about to release. Is there like an ETA on the release, or are we in it's kind of like tight lip, no talking about it right now?
I guess it depends on when this podcast is coming out, what I can say.
I mean, let's see, what's today's date? The 29th. It'll be August, 2 week or October, like 2 weeks from now. I don't know what that date is right now off the top of my head.
So 2 weeks from now. Okay, so then yeah, so then I guess I can talk about that. So the next single's coming out October 8th, and then the
Oh,
EP
sick.
coming out November 5th.
Oh, nice.
Mhm. So I will most likely have announced that already, so I can talk about
Dope.
that.
Well, I always this is actually one of my favorite things about doing the podcast is like talking to people and enjoying their music and then getting the inside scoop before knowing that it's going to be coming out at a time where everyone else knows it, but I get to
Yep.
know it inside. I'm like I feel special.
Yeah. And
So
you are special.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely right. Like I'm interviewer is always the most special. So I am curious with with the music, obviously with the EP. I feel like there's a lot of similarities. The new music feels more refined, a little bit more. Um, I feel like there's consistency, maybe is the word that I'm looking for, amongst like the songs. So what was kind of the difference in process from EP number one to EP number two, which is now that was recorded basically solo, right? You had to have people come in and just do parts, right?
Yeah, so the second EP was actually just me and my producer.
Sick.
I recorded, I tracked all the rhythm guitar and obviously the vocals and wrote some of the lead guitar parts, and then my producer played everything else and wrote like the drums and bass and stuff. So it was really just me and one other person.
Dang.
So the influences were very cohesive because of that. But but yeah, like the EP definitely sounds, I agree, it sounds a lot more cohesive. And that's because the first EP, um, it was a very weird process because I had like half the songs written by the time I started recording,
Mm-hmm.
and I was recording the songs like one by one, and then as I was recording those I was writing others, and then I would bring those into the studio afterwards and record them like song by song.
Oh, okay.
but for but for this EP, I wrote all the songs and then demoed all of them together, and then brought all of them into the studio at the same time and recorded them instrument by instrument instead
Oh,
of song
cool.
by song. Yeah, it was a lot more of a traditional process, but because of that, the songs sound a lot more consistent because because we were doing it instrument by instrument. We could do like all the drums like in one day, so all of the songs had the same exact drum setup, the mics were in the same place and everything. It's like everything was set up the same way for every single song, so that's why it sounds like so much more cohesive.
That makes a lot of sense. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like I said, you were like a big part of it was you were working basically solo because your producer was kind of building off of what you already had.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was like the biggest difference between writing EP number 1 and working as a band to now being solo and writing and recording this EP solo?
So the way it worked with the last EP, pretty much every Wave Break song ever has started with like me writing the skeleton of the song first. So I would have like the melodies and the chords and everything already ready to go. Um, and then for the first EP, I would take those songs and then we would kind of jam on the songs and write all of the parts in the practice room,
Okay.
and then we would keep practicing it until it was good to go, and then we would go into the studio and record what we had come up with. Whereas with this one, I obviously couldn't do that because I didn't have a full band to
Yeah.
practice in a practice room with. So instead of that part where I would have taken it to the practice room to write those parts, I demoed everything out and just kind of like sat in Pro Tools and laid everything down in a session to write that with my producer, and then we kind of used that as a guide for the studio.
So, which one was more difficult?
Probably actually the first one with Armory,
Okay.
because not because it was difficult like doing what we did, but mainly because I wasn't the only person in the band. I wasn't the only one calling the shots about
Mhm.
what we wanted. So there were a few times where like someone would come up with something and be like, "But I don't like that. We got to change it." Like
Mhm.
so like we would have to like figure out what we would want to do in a way that would make everyone happy,
Yeah.
I guess. But now since solo, it's pretty much whatever I want, and
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, and I feel like for me this was something that happened to me a lot when I was writing music is I would get really married to an idea. I would get
Mhm.
really kind of like hyper focused, and I kind of wouldn't let anything sway me.
Mhm.
which ultimately I think was really detrimental. But for like from where you're at, do you ever find yourself getting fixated and not being willing to budge on certain things when like because obviously your producer probably comes in and says, hey, I recommend this, and then obviously with your bandmates they probably did the same thing. Did you ever find yourself really just like, stubborn, for a lack of a better word?
In terms of this EP, I think the writing process for it was very natural, so I was kind of very happy with how everything came out. But I remember particularly with like my vocal takes, I'm very particular about my vocal takes. Like I will keep redoing things until I'm happy with them.
Yeah.
And once there were like one or two times in the recording process where like we had a a line recorded in the vocals and I didn't like the take that we had, but my producer was like, but this take is like is the take. We have to use it. And I was just like, oh, well, we gotta change it. I don't like
Yeah.
it.
Which
So
is it? Chemical Burn. It's either Chemical Burn or Tug of War, I believe, where you probably midway through the song you kind of have that climax of the song, and you climb up real high in your register. um
well, that's actually Manic Dreams, yeah.
oh dang it, I'm an frick, I hate when I mess it up, but that's one of the new ones at least, right? Like, hey,
Yep,
it's on
yep,
the new EP, so
yep, it's
suck it.
done.
But was that like that one in particular? I feel like you were probably very particular on it because those types of vocal runs are like difficult, obviously. So for that one, were there like multiple attempts, or was that just kind of like a, how did that one go? Because out of all of them, that one felt like the most complex of songs for the vocal side.
That one actually happened very naturally. I don't think I ended up having to redo that one,
That's so
surprisingly.
cool.
So, I mean, I definitely took like a few takes of it, but we ended up just picking the best of that, and then it was good. So
That's
I didn't have to
awesome.
go back and do takes.
And
So,
I, as I've attended a lot of concerts and stuff, when it comes to parts like that, bands typically will shy away from actually singing it, and they'll kind of move away from the mic and not actually sing it. They'll just kind of like let it die out. For you in a live setting, would you do that live?
like, kind of step away from it.
No, yeah, like would you perform the part, or what would you like? Because I feel like I said, for me,
Oh,
I know what I would do, because in a recording session, it's like, if I crack, I can redo it, right? Like I can screw up and I can redo, but like in a live setting, I just be like, I'm not gonna hit those high notes. What would you
oh no,
do?
I totally do that live. I had a show last week, did that live and nailed it. So I'm gonna keep doing it.
That's
So
so sick. Makes it
definitely
cooler.
that. Yep.
Like I appreciate the heck out of a band that will do that, because there's a lot of risk involved in that. Like high risk, high reward, right?
Mhm. Yeah, when you nail it, everyone loves it. So you just gotta, I guess, be careful. But like, it gives you it gives you a great opportunity if you do nail it. So,
Yeah, it shows your chops for sure.
mhm.
And now I have a follow up though, because I didn't, I don't know how everything is around the whole country. But here in Utah, things have been fairly normal for quite a while now. Concerts are back, everything's back.
Mhm.
Next, the day after your next song releases, I'm gonna go see State Champs and Real Friends and 4 Years Strong.
Mhm.
Um,
Nice.
and sounds like you've been already back out and about playing shows. Are you playing pretty consistently then?
Um, we only played one show back so far, and we have another show later this year that hasn't been announced yet. But so far, I don't have too much planned because I'm still trying to like figure out like who's going to be available to play more
Tough.
shows. I'm still
Yeah.
trying to figure out what I want to do for like a release run for this EP, which probably will be like after New Year's or something. It'll be a little late, but
Mm-hmm.
um, still trying to figure that stuff out, which is definitely tougher when you're solo. But
Absolutely.
there definitely will be more shows. It's just I got to plan them.
Sick. Well, I mean, that's like I said, like I think it's awesome that you're already getting back out to shows. Like that's one of the things that I've felt most sad for these musicians. Like, because a lot of times writing the music is a good outlet, recording it is great, but performing it live is, from a lot of people I've talked to, is kind of where they really feel the magic of being a musician. Is that
Mhm.
pretty consistent for you too?
Yeah, I mean, I always say that I love both playing live and being in the studio equally for different reasons. But yeah, like the like playing live and like connecting with people, like both with your music and just getting like to meet people, it like there's there's just nothing that beats that. Like
Yeah.
I love that. So definitely excited to start playing more shows and start doing that more, especially after COVID.
Yeah. Would you do acoustic, or is that not kind of where you'd want to go?
I would just have to come up with the right way to play them acoustic, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because um, I, before Wave Break, I was doing solo stuff under my own name.
Oh, okay.
And I was playing all my shows acoustic because I didn't have a band.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the reason I switched from that to playing in a band was because I felt like playing acoustic didn't really represent my music properly because all my music was like full band. Like
Yeah.
at every show I was like, "Oh, I'm playing acoustic, but like all my recordings are full band, so go check them out."
Yeah.
Like you play them, people don't know what they actually sound like.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely do an acoustic set, but I definitely wouldn't want to go to like playing acoustic like all the time again.
Yeah, I get that, because there is an energy that comes from having everything pieced in there, right? Like the
Yeah.
acoustic, especially live, acoustic's a little harder to bring that vibe and that energy into the room. Most people are gonna sit
Mhm.
back. They're not gonna be doing a whole lot. They're gonna kind of just sit there and listen. They won't actually be super engaged, and that's
Yeah, and another thing is I haven't really put much thought into like how I would play these songs acoustic yet. I would if I had like an acoustic set coming up, but like I wouldn't want to just play all these songs exactly the same just on acoustic. I would want to put like a lot of thought into it too. So,
that's smart. That's
yeah.
awesome. And I one other, the one thing that I wanted to follow up with too, with like obviously with the new music, who are some of the bands that you've, maybe not bands, maybe just like types of music that you have been listening to a lot, maybe not as inspiration, but just bands that you've been really vibing with within the last year or so.
During the writing and recording process for this EP, I remember vibing a lot with Eat Your Heart Out with their last album.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of inspired, or at least got me in the right headspace for writing a lot of the lyrics on this
Mm-hmm.
album, EP. So I was definitely vibing a lot with them over the last year. Off the top of my head, I've been vibing a lot with Spirit Box with their new album.
Oh yeah.
And
So
yeah,
they're
so
they're the obviously female led metalcore, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're pretty intense.
Oh yeah, I love their new album. Like I haven't really delved much into that genre before, but like I'm like I love that album and I'm gonna start like looking more into that stuff and maybe that will influence the next EP. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that girl's got some chops.
oh yeah, I
Like,
definitely like I still really want to learn how to scream, but I want to get like one-on-one instruction on that because
mhm.
if I learn to do it the wrong way and try to teach myself, I could very like seriously damage my voice.
Yep.
So I need to find someone who can teach me because I really want to learn how to scream and
Yeah.
maybe do it on the next.
I remember kids in high school thinking they could do that, and you know, just issues upon issues upon issues. These kids just like destroying their, like, not having a voice for a few days. Like, dude, you're literally not gonna be able to even talk if you keep going down this road.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to have to go into like vocal surgery or anything like that.
For
So I
sure.
gotta I gotta learn how to do it the right way.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
I do it at
that's
all.
that's craziness. Yeah, that's I didn't realize that there was like a whole like methodology to it. I thought it was just like super, just like you just scream. Cuz I have you listened to Hot Mulligan?
A little bit, yeah. I've heard a few of their songs.
They're super dope. They opened for Newfound Glory, and I do not have any clue how that guy can maintain his voice during a whole tour. Like, blows my mind. He
Oh yeah.
was because his, there's like a few different types of screams. One's where you can feel it's a little bit more from the gut. It's not nearly as like straining on your vocal cords. It's a lot more just like low guttural scream, or even the high ones where it doesn't seem like it's through the vocal cords. This guy was just straight up like, "Ah," just yelling his heart out, and I was like, how in the world are you doing that day in and
Mhm.
day out? I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's like it's easier to like damage your voice from what I know with like the type of like metalcore screaming that Spirit Box does.
Oh, okay.
Um, I know like the screams that are more like a yell, it's kind of more just like yelling. I
Because it's
mean,
more natural to your voice or something.
yeah, like I do it like sometimes on our song Deadlock Live. I at the start of the chorus, I just kind of like yell the words
Uh-huh.
instead of like singing it the way it is in the song. But like yeah, like there are like certain screams or certain like yells that are like more likely to damage your voice to what
Interesting.
to my knowledge.
Science of screaming with with Kelly. I just so like that's funny because like there was a I I don't know why I'm remembering this. There was like a documentary thing that I saw on YouTube, and there were all of these famous metal musicians who went to this one lady who taught them how to scream. And now I'm
Mhm.
remembering, because of what you just said, she would teach them how to do it without destroying their voices. And I'm remembering that. I'm going to have to find it.
Yeah, I might know who you're talking about. Is it Melissa Cross? I know she has like a DVD that people know.
Probably, honestly, because she, was she white haired? Is Melissa Cross white haired lady?
Not sure. I'm not sure I remember what she looks like.
I'm looking it up right now. Sorry, I can't not. Oh, yep, this is the lady. It wasn't white hair. It was it was a Vice News thing.
Mhm.
This trained singer teaches metal bands how to scream. Yeah, it's like a 4 minute little like docu thing through Vice, and I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And because she was like an opera singer who's teaching them how to scream. I was like, this is bizarre. This is so cool.
Yeah, like I'm gonna have to sit down and watch her DVD, but I still kind of feel like I'm gonna want one-on-one instruction.
Yeah,
But
for
I guess
sure.
we'll see.
Oh man, that's cool. Well, that'd be a cool element to add. That'd be kind of like taking it one step further, one more notch in the belt.
Yeah, I feel like my writing like over time has been getting heavier instead of softer in a
Mm-hmm.
way. Like I started writing like super poppy, like pop rock singer songwriter stuff when I was like 17, and then now I'm like doing like obviously alt rock and pop punk.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on a couple songs, there are like slight brief influences of like post hardcore on some of these songs, but
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like over time my writing's like getting heavier as I like get more proficient at what I'm doing because I
Yeah.
keep doing what I'm doing, like all the simple stuff that I'm doing, I'm gonna get bored. So I gotta keep making it more complicated for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get to that point where I can do some of that on the next CP.
That'd be cool. I mean, that'd be super sick to just because I like the way you think about it, because it's like if you do the exact same thing on this EP as you did on the last, and you do the same thing again, it's just like, at what point do you just say, meh, it's not really
Yeah,
challenging me anymore?
yeah, like the songs like that are on Armory, like I played them live and like I've played them like 50 billion times already, and they're like the guitar, my guitar parts anyway aren't very technical,
Mm-hmm.
so I just get bored playing them. So I'm like on this EP on some of these songs I pushed myself to make my parts a little bit more technical to give myself a bit more of a challenge. So like I feel like I just got to keep pushing myself to add like an extra element of difficulty so that I don't get bored.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. And man, it's been really cool talking with you, because it's fun to hear where you're coming from. And like I said, the new music is super dope. I it's I'm glad that what I noticed with the cohesiveness and stuff was obviously like it just kind of helps. For me, it makes it so the experience feels more fluid, which I'm really excited for the full EP because how many songs is it going to be? Is it going to be 5 songs, 6 songs?
It's actually gonna have 7 songs, and then
Sick.
the physical CD version, I'm throwing our single from last year, "Out of Breath," on it as a bonus track. So the CD is gonna have 8.
Dang. That's awesome. That's a good length EP. Like most EPs nowadays are so short. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely wanted to do a longer one, considering like how long it's been since I put out the last EPs. I wanted to give everyone a good amount of content. So
Absolutely.
I
Well,
like
that makes
yeah.
complete sense. Real quick, I always like to end my podcast with just random trivial questions, like questions that have no impact on the world. Do you still have a couple minutes?
Sure.
Awesome. All right. So this first question is because of my sugar addiction. What is your favorite candy?
Oh, I gotta go for this question's always difficult because it depends on what mood I'm in. Like if I'm in the mood for like something super sugary, I might go for like a Sour Patch or a Starburst or something like that,
Solid.
or like a Skittles or something like that. But other times I'm in the mood for chocolate, and I'll go for like a Reese's or something
Okay.
like that.
Reese's is a pretty solid choice that I think I'd say probably 60 or 70% of the people I ask Reese's is up
Mm.
there. So,
Oh yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely top tier.
Yeah, I only like the holiday Reese's, like the Christmas trees or the Easter eggs. Like I don't
Mm.
know about the ratio. Something different about the ratio or the type of chocolate or whatever it is. I don't know. Those ones are freaking
Peanut
magical.
butter, that's what it is.
It's the more peanut butter.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they're like a lot like the texture is different because
Yeah,
and the sauce
definitely.
is more peanut butter in it, I feel like.
Yeah, that's the big thing is the texture. It's way smoother and like there's just a magical ratio, I guess, for me. That's
Hey,
awesome.
can't go wrong.
Yeah, so between Starburst, Skittles, and Sour Patch, you got to choose one. You got to choose your reigning champion.
I'm probably gonna have to go with Sour Patch on that one.
Yes. I've literally got a bag of Sour Patch right on the side of me over here.
The watermelon?
Oh, I actually do the strawberries. I like the
Oh, really?
strawberries more. Yeah, I love the
Oh,
watermelon. Don't get me wrong. Sour Patch watermelons are fantastic, but the strawberries just kind of hit the spot for me.
I usually go for the watermelon myself, but
Hey, that's a
I'm sure the strawberry ones are great too.
yeah. I always talk whenever I talk to bands from Canada. I just tell them how jealous I am because they have Sour Patch mangoes, and those are bar none. Like nothing stands a chance against those guys. They're so good.
Oh, nice. And when I finally do visit Canada, I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, I
I
mean, you're
have
like
never had.
you're the odds of you getting to Canada are so much higher than me ever getting to Canada. So, make sure if you get there, you just buy a couple extra bags and ship them on over. I'll pay for it.
Yeah,
uh,
it's kind of sad because I'm so close to Canada and yet I still haven't been there. Like
have you been to like
when I was
Niagara
growing
Falls
up,
at all or no?
I've been to Niagara Falls. We played a
Okay.
show in Buffalo a couple years ago and we went
Sick.
there, but I didn't get to go onto the Canada side of it because my bandmates didn't have their passports with them.
Dang
But
it.
um but yeah, like I've never been there because my family like didn't really go on that many vacations, and when we did, like we always went to like Disney World, so I've been there like 4 or 5 times.
Hey,
So
that's
like
a solid vacation.
yeah, and I've been like saving up money, so I haven't been going on that many trips, but it's on my list. I'm definitely gonna go on a trip sometime soon. So
Heck yeah. I mean, Canada's got a great pop punk scene too, so you could get up there
yeah,
and probably get some shows in, make it an actual, make it double duty, a vacation and a tour.
yeah, it's definitely on the list too at some point.
That's so cool. Awesome. All right, next question here. This one's typically a little harder to come up with a single answer, so I will allow you to get your top three if you can't think of your number one. But
Hmm.
favorite movie?
Oh, geez. I have been enjoying the Marvel movies lately. So I
Solid.
guess Shang-Chi was the most recent one I saw. So that's going to have to go up there. That was a great movie.
Haven't seen that one yet because it's only in theaters, and I just haven't gone. I'm sad.
Oh, definitely got to see it. That was a great movie. It's probably one of my favorite ones that I've seen from
Really?
Marvel. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So definitely that one. Uh, I used to say Harry Potter for this, but it feels weird because of all the stuff with J.K. Rowling going on. But I guess for now, I'm gonna have to say that. So Harry Potter movies, I guess.
Nice.
Um, and for some reason, like whenever people ask me this, like the Hangover always pops into my head because
Just
it was like 10 years ago. So so I'm gonna have to throw that one in there too. Like it's always like the one movie that pops into my head for that question for some reason.
hey, you gotta go with what your heart says, right?
Yeah, I always like also like blank whenever people ask me about what my favorite movie is. Like I always like forget like every single movie I've ever seen in my life, but
Oh,
that's the one I always like still like remember. So
yeah. Like that's one of the worst things. Like whenever I'm like, oh yeah, I do a podcast, I interview musicians, and they're like, oh yeah, what kind of music? Like what kind of bands? And I'm like, I literally know these people. Like I've talked to them. I know their music. I've listened to all of their music, and I just like draw a blank. And I'm like,
yep.
you can look at it on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. It's like, oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, that's awful.
Whenever people ask me like what music I've been listening to lately, like because it's so disjointed with Spotify, a lot of the times I'm just like, this artist. There's one artist, but I don't remember anything else.
Yep.
So like,
Yeah.
when you asked me that before, I was like, I definitely have listened to Spirit Box, but like I completely forgot everybody else.
I get that. There's something about being put on the spot that you just kind of like deer in the headlights, you know? You kind of don't know what to do, know what to say.
Yep. Yep.
All right, last one here for you. This one is sometimes a harder one too, but aside from music, what's a hobby that you enjoy doing that is not music related? Because obviously this is tough because your time is all spent with music. So
Yeah. I mean, it's not really a hobby right now, but because I don't have enough time to put into it. But like every now and then I do like cooking, I guess, like
heck yeah,
learning new recipe or something. I'll like learn something new and cook a nice dinner. So cooking's always fun. So yeah, I'll have
heck
to say
yeah.
that.
Where do you learn the recipes? Just look it up or watch it on YouTube or what?
I kind of just Google stuff
Heck
and
yeah.
pick stuff up.
Well,
Yeah,
if you
I haven't really done anything too complicated, but like I'm I'm gonna have to like start putting together like a good like cookbook of stuff because my boyfriend's mom is like a full on like Italian chef, like
oh
Italian
no.
gourmet. Like she has a ton of like recipes that like I'm gonna have to learn. So like I'm gonna have to like, have her write a cookbook for me.
Heck yeah. I mean, that's the way to go. Like those family recipes and stuff, that's always top
Mhm.
notch. I
Oh yeah.
if you ever find time to just chill out and not be so busy, you could sit down and watch Binging with Babish on YouTube.
Babish, okay.
Yeah, Binging with Babish. He's awesome. He's got like basically all of his recipes are based off of TV shows, like food from TV shows or movies. And
Mhm.
so it's a fun one. I think you'd enjoy it. And he
Okay.
gives you the entire recipe, breaks it all down, tells you how to cook it, and
Mhm.
uh and he's just funny. He's cool. So I would check that out.
Cool. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, sounds awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I had an absolute blast talking. And like I said, I'm super stoked for the full EP, and I'll have to get the physical copy so that way I can actually get the bonus song.
Yeah, hell yeah, I'll have to send one to you. So send me
Absolutely.
one.
Oh, definitely. Heck yeah, that'd be dope. And best of luck. Obviously, I'm stoked that live music is starting to ramp up again for you, so that way you get that extra aspect to it. And I'm assuming that since you've had this music going for so long, you've probably got other music that you've already started writing and stuff. So,
Mhm.
as soon as you've got more stuff coming out, let's have you back on. I'd love to talk to you again.
Hell yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, you have a killer night.
Cool. Thanks, you too. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Peace out.
Okay, bye.
Well, that was awesome. Kelly's dope. And y'all are dope for checking out the podcast. So tomorrow, 5 o'clock, I have another interview, this time with Northvale. So tomorrow, look out for an interview with Northvale. It'll be dope. Until then, deuces, y'all.